Now, what happens is when you are heating a solid, you know that there are three things happening. The kinetic energy is increasing. Second, the force of attraction is decreasing. And the spaces are increasing. Now, how come the melting point is a fixed point for this particular solid? Actually, what will happen is when you keep on heating it, the kinetic energy will keep on increasing till they are able to move away from each other, and that particular temperature at which they are able to move away from each other, that is known as melting point. At this point, even when you are giving heat, what is happening is this heat is not showing in the thermometer. This heat is known as latent heat. Now, what is latent heat? Latent heat is that heat. So, I'm telling you what is latent heat. It is that heat or the amount of heat which is required to eventually break the bond. So, at that the amount of heat that is required for this to change from a solid into a liquid, that will be known as latent heat of fusion. That is known as latent heat of fusion, and that is a fixed amount of heat which is required to convert 1 kg of a solid into a liquid at its melting point and at atmospheric pressure. So please try and understand again. Melting point is the fixed point at which a solid will change into a liquid. But you know what happens is when you are heating a solid, at its melting point, all of a sudden the temperature does not rise any further in the thermometer. What is happening to the heat at that time? That heat is being used to break the bond between the solids so that they change from a solid into a liquid. So that heat which is being used, the amount of heat only which is being used to convert at that particular point, that is at the melting point, a solid into a liquid to break the bond, that is known as the latent heat of fusion. Similarly, for a liquid, latent heat will be that fixed amount of heat, and which will be known as latent heat of vaporization, at which the bonds will finally break and a liquid will change into a gas, into a vapor. So that will be known as latent heat of vaporization, and this takes place exactly at the boiling point and atmospheric pressure.